This has been a fairly eventless week, at least until qualifying when it started to rain in the dying stages. Afterwards, it was discovered that there was a rather nasty weeper in Turn 3. For the uninformed, a weeper is a spot on the racetrack where water continues to seep through the surface. Naturally, this makes that part of the track slicker than usual. However, that problem was exacerbated by the fact that it rained on race day. Dan, off to you. Thank you, Lance. Capturing the Delano Pole Award in car number 13 is Alan Hodges, driving for his own team. On the outside of the front row is the Volpe of Zach Duff. Looks like this start was a lot more orderly than last season. Mike Whitmore gets a bit out of line in the back. Some of the cars in the back got a really slow getaway. I wonder what that's all about. Arto Kakinen makes a dive for the lead coming into turn 1. This could lead to tears. A couple of cars are going way wide to avoid problems. I think one of them is Devereaux, and I see Delgado out there too. And we've got more silliness in the back. That weeper that Lance talked about has caused some drama back there. I see Roswell in the tires, but anyway, we're going to look at that in just a second. Here we go. Looks like Mike Whitmore. Well, there's Durbin and Delgado in the sand. Looks like Whitmore got hit by the 27 car of Chris Davenport. It's a blue and pink car looking almost identical. There's the weeper action in the back. Roswell into the tires. And look, some people just putting on too much power too quickly. And that's causing a couple of these cars to spin out into the wall. Roswell's car would go out of the race, and I believe the 43 car, the Lucas Scalora car, is also buried in the tires somewhere. He's also done for the day. Anyway, we're going to have another look here. This is from, we're watching the car number 40 of Gaspar Souza, the young Portuguese driver. He hasn't really had a very good season so far, and this is going to be his second first lap incident in a row. He looks like he just hits, just hits a wet patch and loses the rear end of the car. And, he continues on, and as I said, the only cars going out would be Dale Roswell, whose 17 car you may have seen earlier, buried in the tires. Here's a bit of a chain reaction gone wrong. Well, under braking when in the rain, your car tends to slide a lot, and looks like Luciano Stavrol just knocked a couple cars up the racetrack. Normally the officials would call that avoidable contact, but since this is in the rain, they were a lot more lenient with that. And I think that's a good thing, really. Arto Kakinen in car number 14 holds the lead with Alan Hodges in second, the pole sitter, and Lewis Kingston has worked his way up to third in the Juno, driving for Owen DeGarmo. And looks like everything else still getting sorted out a bit further back. Arto Kakinen's had a pretty tough year so far. Going a bit further back in the field, we're looking for the car number 29. There he is, Joseph Nowicki, the Polish driver. This is the anniversary of his debut. He made his debut in this race last year and didn't really make any friends because of his lack of speed and his tendency to throw the car off the track in several places. Well, the lack of speed is still there, and I don't know what kind of sponsorship he's bringing or if that's personal money that he brings to this 29 car, because Trevor Carrington Racing has needed to bring pay drivers into this car in order to keep the team alive throughout this year. Tony Durbin in car number 33 has to pit at the end of the first lap to fix all the damage to that car. Durbin would return to the race, however he would lose a lot of time. And here is Arto Kakinen in car number 14. He is leading the race on the end of lap 2. Alan Hodges in car 13, the Hodges-Walter car in second. Lewis Kingston in the Juno. Scott Bates fourth. The two Volpes 5th and 6th. 7th is the first of the FinTech cars. Going a bit further back, Morgan Hamburg, Marcus Leonard Rotter complete the top 10. A bit further back, Ethan Everett has made a great charge up to 17th. And Jacques Bouvier in 20th could be a player. He was very quick in practice, but did not go so well in qualifying. Arto having a very strong run. He and Alan Hodges had a lot of incidents early in the year, and both of them need to get their 2011 seasons on track quickly. Morgan Hamburg in car number 68 and Nils Salonen in that car directly in front of him, both running for the Independence Trophy. Morgan Hamburg was a legitimate contender for the Independence Trophy last season. However, just not enough speed when it mattered seemed to punctuate his Independence Trophy campaign, after Michael Sykes basically beat everyone quite soundly. Here's Nils Salonen in car number 22. Well, some drivers thought that he should have been penalized after the round of Russia, however, the officials chose not to do that. I'm not entirely sure why, but I think it's because they felt that his incidents were more based off of inexperience and could be called racing deals. On the other hand, the officials did sit Tolonen down for a nice little chat before this race began, and here's his teammate Mika Turvo, and of course Tolonen, of course he's minding his P's and Q's out there. I hope that doesn't interfere with that good run that he's having so far, and Nils Tolonen in car number 12. After this FinTech tenure of his ends, after this race, we're not sure where he'll be going. Maybe we'll see the FinTechs at Indy later in the year. Luciano Savaral in car number... Luciano Savaral appears to be having either problems with the brakes or, well, just problems with whatever they're putting on the windshield to keep the water off. Because they do use the windshield wipers and some other things. Luciano Savaral pits on the end of lap 1 to fix the hood damage, and at the end of lap 3, and they end up just opting to pull the hood right off. This has not been a good weekend for the Boldens in general. Savaral in particular has had a couple of offs. Throughout the season, he's been a lot quicker than his teammate Woody Watts. Watts, on the other hand, is being rumored to go over to the ASCC and to bring Bolden over there as well. And that would certainly be a loss because, well, the rumors include that Bolden would be leaving the Master Cup Series after only 1 year in the series. I'm not sure how much truth there is to those rumors. We'll just have to wait and see, I suppose. Luciano Savaral has been quicker than Watts, as I mentioned, just hasn't had the luck. This seems to be a continuation of that trend. A little further up the field, the two Volpes, Alexis Rainsford, car 1, Zach Duff, car 2. There's been some people that think that there are some kind of team orders within Volpe. However, the way Zach Duff has been playing around with Alexis Rainsford and the way he's racing her right now certainly don't show that. So that's putting the Volpe team orders rumors I think to rest right there. I think the only thing I can really say is that Zach Duff just isn't as quick as Alexis Rainsford in this car. That's really the only thing I can think of as to why Zach Duff isn't faster than Rainsford. So looks like anyone who's really been conjuring up the Volpe team orders conspiracy needs to get the tinfoil hats off, because they're both racing each other very hard, and I don't know why a number 2 driver would be running all over the back of his team leader like that. No complaints from either driver. However, there were from Volpe management, apparently. So, well, it would be kind of embarrassing to see both your team cars wreck out at the same time. Now, would it? Especially when they're both running in the top 5 and could be podium contenders. Mikhail Polyakov had wreck damage in the first lap. Why he waited to fix it, I have no idea. Luciano Savaral's day ends very early. Car number 3 has more problems than just the hood, it looks like, and he rolls the car to a stop, pulls it off the track. Lap 4, Morgan Hamburg has another problem. The team doesn't say what it was, because Franz Redlich hits the back of Chris Johans, which hits the back of the 68 car, and the team petulantly says it was from accident damage. And you want any evidence from that? Here you go. Damage on the front end of car 94, Franz Redlich. Haha. Not quite sure what happened there. He probably just misjudged his braking and skidded into Chris Johans. The officials wanted to have a look at that one, however. I hope we don't see too many of these, too many officialdom interferences in the races so far, because that could possibly kill some of the racing we have out here. Arto Kakinen and Alan Hodge, as you might have noticed, have pulled away from the rest of the field. Stefan Halveri in car number 20. He's not exactly had the best day. He pits very early. This is a pit strategy gamble, but he's way down in the field, so I don't think he has much to lose by doing so. Woody Watts in the second Bolden. He's been having some problems, but at the same time, he hasn't really been as quick as Savaral, so I wonder if that's because of the problems he's been having, or if that's just the pace gap between Watts and his teammate. I'm tempted to say a little of both. However, he's been having a very difficult season, despite starting off with a couple of very solid points finishes. It has not been ideal for Woody Watts, who finally gets to drive his preferred number of 6. It just doesn't seem to be a lucky number for him this side of the racing world. Yamino Tenshi blows up from 16th. That's a bit of a shame, because the Nemoto was running particularly well. Delgado dropped back through the field early on after trying to avoid some first lap drama, which he successfully did, I might point out. Ended up getting that car almost beached, lost a lot of track time. Tenshi, on the other hand, well, her day ends early, holding up quite a few cars. Charlie Waters in the 10 car, blocking Zelda Ashby there. That's fair, that's for position. Now here's Chris Davenport. We haven't really talked much about him and or about that graphic that came up earlier. He sneaked his way all the way up to 14th, largely due to the amount of retirements we've had here. We believe that this is really just an Omeka MAO2 with a Volpe engine in it to see what. I think apparently this is kind of an R&D effort for Volpe to kind of make sure what their if it's their engines that are plaguing them or if it's other parts of the car. Good benchmark to use the Omeka. Davenport himself, a lot of people were worried about him running in the rain, and especially here because Davenport has been known to be extraordinarily reckless. Also, the Alexis Sports team that's owned by Alexis Rainsford, kind of in name only. She kind of foots the bill for the team, and they put her name on it. She doesn't really have too much involvement in that group. Lewis Kingston in car number 44 is going to pit way, way, way too early. What are the race strategists over there thinking? That is a scheduled pit stop. Alexis Rainsford, car number 1, challenging Scott Bates for what will be 3rd place. Zach Duff, is now going to slot into 5th. Talonen into 6th, and Leonard into 7th. Scott Bates in that 88 car just doesn't seem to be set up for the rain. However, he's doing a good job in holding off the defending champion. Well, looks like he can't really hold her off forever in that case. Now here's Joseph Novicki. You'll notice those cars, 3 cars in the back, they all pitted on the end of lap 1 to fix crash damage. Novicki hasn't had a pit at all. He's several seconds off the pace and is really kind of making a fool out of himself. I think he'll realize soon that he's out of his depth and park it soon. Marcus Leonard in car 999 having a solid run. However, he also pits very early. I'm really wondering why they would do that, because he's going to have to pit an extra time. He is at 7 seconds off the pace, so clearly it's not just him, it's also this car. He's getting passed for position, as I mentioned earlier, by cars that got into accidents, and he's defending his position, which he's entitled to do, but when you're that much slower than the rest of the field, I think you're probably better off letting everyone go. Tony Durbin doesn't really have too many fond things to say about him, didn't have any fond things to say about him last season either. And Mikhail Polyakov in car 24 goes around Novicki, who can't say he's improving his reputation that he earned last year. Scott Bates in the 88 car, holding up the 22 car of Nils Talonen. That's for position. Bates is defending he's doing what he has to do to defend his spot, and Talonen's going to get him, though, coming down the front straight. This 88 car just doesn't seem to have a whole lot of speed. However, Scott Bates has done a great job in holding off some of the faster cars behind him. You can say what you like about that, but in my own personal opinion, I think that blocking is something that you have to allow in the interest of having some good racing further back in the field. You can't just legislate that you move over and play dead for everybody else. One move is, I think, fine. And Zach Duff in car number 2 is going to sweep around Bates, trying to sweep around him on the outside, but that's going to be a good move because the next 2 turns, right-handers, so Zach Duff will have the advantage. So Scott Bates in this 88 car is sliding back. He's doing everything he can to defend his position while still being gracious at the same time and being a fair racer. And, well, it's not exactly an ideal day so far for Scott Bates. His teammate Charlie Waters, he's under a 2-race suspended ban, and what that basically means, that means if Charlie Waters causes any more shenanigans on the racetrack, he will be banned for 2 races. That's sort of new lingo that the officials have come up with that sort of describes what happens if you violate probation. Charlie Waters, though, he's been doing a great job so far this weekend. He's been very clean. No one's had anything bad to say about him on track for this race anyway. And he's having a solid run up in the points. By the way, that is Nasova in front of him, and that is for position. Scott Hamilton is also for position, and he's missing his rear end. So Charlie Waters having a good run so far, but there's all other cars around him also having strong runs, like the Katsev and the Xenos. Charlie Waters' replacement driver would be Ian Cooper if he is suspended. Joseph Novicki in car number 29 is going to eventually be put out of his and everyone else's misery by Leon Keniston, who clearly subscribes to the "you block me and I wreck you" school of thought. And there he goes, just shoves the hapless pole off into the tire walls. And really there's not much I can say about that. I don't think the officials would take too kindly to that, but then again, we didn't see any messages come up saying that they were investigating that one. Arto Kekkonen in car 14 is still in the lead. What a novel idea. Arto Käkkinen leading this race, and Alan Hodges is in second place. What a novel idea. And they have a huge margin on the rest of the field. Alexis Rainsford in car number 1 has mitigated that margin a little bit, but she doesn't seem to be reeling these two cars in as quickly as she intended. Talonen and Duff are still having a good fight for 4th. Bates still holding off Roderick. Those two have been trading that position for the past couple of laps. Chris Johans in the 64 car having a strong run. Davenport up to 12th. Redlick still has damage on that car on the front end, and he's in 11th. That front end damage normally doesn't end so well. And there you'll notice Devereaux having a fairly nondescript run in 17th. The Cats of Nasova and the EFR Journey of Waters both in the points, 19th and 20th. And also, Michael Sykes in 18th place, having another strong run. The Welsh touring car legend making a good name for himself. Chris Johans, no rear end on this car either. That got knocked off. That got seriously damaged at the end of the first lap shenanigans. Doesn't seem to be hurting the 64 car any. It looks like Roderick may have burned off his tires trying to get around Bates. And now Johans is going to attack the 4-time champion. Chris Johans is no slouch himself. He's a 2-time Arla champion. Ethan Everett in car number 11 has been having an outstanding day. He's a great personality on and off the racetrack, and clearly he could be one of the superstars of the future. He hasn't really had the equipment to challenge at the front. However, it looks like he's finally getting his game on, and it looks like we could be seeing some more of Ethan Everett at the front of the field. He's really trying hard to get himself a drive for next season because there's rumors about Rick Milligan's team closing. Arto Käkkinen in car 14 and Alan Hodges in car 13 both pit on the same lap, starting what I can only call a pit party, because almost everybody pits on the same lap around this very, very long track here at Brno, the very long Brno circuit. Zach Duff stayed out. Chris Johans, I think Johans actually came in with everyone else. Here's Zach Duff, car number 2. He stays out an extra lap, along with a couple of other cars. You see, that is Chris Johans in back. I thought I saw him stay out on track. I almost got him confused with the Gessler. The Redlick car. There is Redlick, and he also stayed out. So, looks like both of those silvery cars stayed out on the racetrack. Chris Davenport in the 27 car also stayed out an extra lap. Also, so did Ethan Everett in the 11 car, running on a pit strategy gamble. Ethan Everett doing a great job this race at saving fuel and working his way forward. Adrian Devereaux, the 26 car, also having a good run. Avery Holtzman in car 95 was the only car to change onto dry tires. That's a big gamble. Holtzman is way down through the field, and if these work, he could come storming through the field. Let's see, are these dry tires a great idea that are going to help Holtzman come flying his way through the field? Nope, absolutely not. Bad idea. Slid off the track, aquaplaned off into the tires, and Holtzman's day is done. He came into the race as the points leader. Not a good move. Lap 15, Arto Käkkinen is in the lead. Gee, we never saw this before. Alan Hodges running in second, and Alexis Rainsford is in third. Arto has gotten a bit of a gap on Hodges, but Hodges has fallen off just a little bit, and Rainsford has closed in on the 13 car. However, the 14 and the 1 are running about the same speed, so looks like Hodges just needs to pick his game up a little bit if he hopes to catch Arto for the win. Looked like Hodges was trying to play sneaky a little bit and just ride behind Käkkinen for most of the race. However, I think when Arto had the same pit strategy as Hodges, that kind of went out the window. Not too many other changes up in the top 20 other than Gasper de Souza having a strong run in the 40 car. Scott Bates and Leonard Roderick, they've been trading this position back and forth and back and forth. However, Roderick is finally going to get a good run on Scott Bates. It's going to put him in front of the EFR Journey. These Roderick in that number 4 car and Scott Bates in that 88 car. The two black and orange cars out in the track both had a very good... Oh! There's a problem with the 88 car! That's probably why Roderick had such an easy time with him. There's a mechanical problem with the 88 car. Gearbox problems signal the end of Scott Bates' day. Taub in the 37 also. Problems on this car. He too drops out of the race, so the winner in Russia will not go 2 in a row. Lewis Kingston in car number 44 continues his mindless strategy. I really do wonder what they're thinking over there by having him pit 3 times. When I think everyone else will only have to pit twice. Anyway, Nils Stallone in car number 22 having a strong run as usual, and as his teammate, Mika Turvo in car 12. The FinTech cars have been very strong Independence Trophy contenders, However, it always seems that Talonen and Turvo have found some banana skins to slip on, or some banana peels to slip on at some point during the race. Stefan Halvari's day is finally over. He's not had he's had a pretty miserable race. Transmission problems signal his end. He will not be in this 20 car after this race. We believe Dan McKay will be in this car. This is Halvari's last run in this car, and I think he's done a very good job with what he's had. Second round of pit stops. Arto Kakinen in the pits along with Alan Hodges in the 13 car. Rainsford is in the 1. And we wait to see if anyone else comes into this shot. There's Zach Duff in the 2. Marcus Leonard Roderick have all come in. Can't really see. There's Chris Johans is in. Turvo is in. I think Talonen may have stayed out. Don't see him anywhere. There's the 94 of Redlick, Chris Davenport in the 27 car. And there's Adrian Devereaux as well. Jacques Bouvier pits off cycle, and he inherited the lead. He will have to pit, though, in a few laps. So, most of the cars that you didn't see in that pit lane shot pitted the lap afterwards. Bouvier is one of only a couple of cars that stayed out even longer than that. Another one is Ethan Everett in car number 11. The Rick Milligan SAR Tyrant MS, the Master Sports SAR Tyrant, is doing a great job running in 4th on the racetrack, right in front of Alexis Rainsford, the defending Master Cup champion. Ethan Everett has done a good job and worked his way through the field in this car 11. It's really showing that he is maturing in this series, and it's good to see that a charming young American talent, Ethan Everett of Massachusetts, has been very successful in this series, and we hope that he has many more of these to come in this car number 11. A little further back in the field, Woody Watts' day is mercifully over. Transmission failure. Another car with a transmission gone bad ends his day. I don't think his day was going to get much better because, let's face it, he's had a pretty miserable run here. Bolton in general will want to forget this weekend. Alexis Rainsford is hounding Ethan Everett, just can't seem to get by, but she eventually makes a dive bomb move on the inside of Everett, coming into the second to last corner, and she will take 4th back in a good pass on Ethan Everett. Everett, very clean racer, gives Alexis Rainsford plenty of room in that 11 car. Bouvier, car number 7, the Yarrow Gasnier, in the lead of the race. He's not had a very good season. This is pretty much one of the few times we've seen the 7 car in the lead, but it's kind of a shame that he's going to eventually have to give it up. But Bouvier's really had a difficult season with this team. They haven't really gone off as quickly as they'd like, and things have just gone from bad to worse. Scott Hamilton, 6th place in the Xenos. He's also on the Ethan Everett and Jacques Bouvier pit strategy, I believe. However, he doesn't have a rear end on that car, so he's been sliding around looking for grip and can't seem to find it. Very spread out field, you'll notice. Chris Davenport, Gasper D'Souza in 15th. I'm not sure what strategy he's on, actually, the 40 car. Adrian Devereaux in car number 26 is also having a solid run in 16th place. Scott Stoidler, 17th. He's going to be wanting some points. And Charlie Waters, a strong 18th so far. Scott Hamilton, car 46. We mentioned him earlier. No rear end in this car. Lots of damage. He was involved in the turn 1 chaos. And he's running solidly in the points right now. I believe if he actually pits and comes out, he might still be in the points. So this could be a good points. This could be some points for Xenos. They've really been kind of anonymous this season. Neither Hamilton, Dorian, or the Xenos car itself have really distinguished themselves one way or another. So hopefully that'll change for this team. Jacques Bouvier's round of fun at the beginning, at the head of the class, is going to end. He brings the 7 car into the pits with 3 laps to go. That's rather unfortunate for him. Ethan Everett brings in the 11 car on the same lap. So Everett's gonna drop. Whoa! Almost a pit road collision between those two. Lucky that wasn't a pit lane collision. Pit lane collisions never go well with the officials. Scott Hamilton pitted car 46. However, none of this pit strategy was enough to stop Arto Kakinen, who basically dominated this race, to go on to take his first win of 2011. The Finn returns to victory lane in the Flash Racing Inglesby. Alan Hodges and Alexis Rainsford completed the podium. Zach Duff and Marcus Leonard completed the top 5. You'll also notice Both the FinTech cars managed to crack the top 10. This is going to go very well for their Independence Trophy bids. Chris Davenport in the 27 car, another one of the Independents, strong run as well. The only one of the Independents not to make it to the finish was Morgan Hamburg. However, frankly, that car was not going very quickly even before he fell out of the race, so I'm not so sure how well he would have held up in the rain. Bouvier and D'Souza, both of them come home with more points, as does Scott Hamilton in the 46 car. That pit gamble paid off, especially in Hamilton's case. He can never drop back to 18th. Yulia Nasova from 35th to points. Scott Stoidler, 33rd to more points. And Bobby Porteau in the 15 car rounds out the top 20 for the round of the Czech Republic. And let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship leaving the round of the Czech Republic. No surprise here, Alexis Rainsford's on top of the point standings, 25 markers over Avery Holtzman. Leonid Roderick is tied with third with Adrian Dever. Arto Kakinen positions himself as an outsider for the championship. The Power Steering Incorporated and Starna Moto drivers are having good runs in this season, so are the Gessler drivers. Going a bit further down, Alan Hodges looks like he's finally got his season back on track, and Nils Talonen in car number 22, that's an Independence Trophy contender. However, he scored a truckload of points at Karjala as well. Speaking of Nils Talonen, let's have a look at the Independence Trophy points. And it's a FinTech 1-2. And since both of those cars cannot run any more races for the Independence Trophy, Turvo will beat Talonen in this year's Independence Trophy. Morgan Hamburg moved up to 6th despite failing to finish, and Chris Davenport up to 8th. However, Davenport is still being investigated for that incident with Mike Whitmore on the first lap, so these results could change just a little bit.